The war between Israel and Hamas has been going on for over a year. It started on October 7th, 2023, when Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel. This attack started a terrible conflict that has affected the whole region. The fighting has been non-stop, with many losses on both sides. Regular people, not soldiers, have suffered the most. Thousands have been killed and hurt. Homes and buildings are destroyed. The conflict has created a huge problem, forcing many people to leave their homes and needing help. Countries around the world have asked for a ceasefire, a break in the fighting, but talks have stopped and started many times. Each side blames the other for the lack of progress. The situation is still dangerous, and it's hard to see when the fighting will end. The conflict has also made existing tensions in the region worse. It has increased anger and mistrust, making peace even harder to achieve. As the war continues, innocent people suffer more and more. The conflict has had a terrible impact on regular people's lives. Many have lost family members, homes and jobs. Living in constant fear is incredibly difficult. The world needs to do more to help create a lasting ceasefire and address the humanitarian crisis. A peaceful solution is needed urgently to stop the fighting and bring peace to the region. The longer the fighting goes on, the harder it will be to fix things and build a better future. One of the saddest parts of the Israel-Hamas conflict is the situation of the hostages taken by Hamas. During their first attack on October 7, 2023, Hamas captured over 250 Israeli civilians. These hostages, including men, women and children, were taken to Gaza. What will happen to them has been a source of great worry for their families and everyone in Israel. Trying to get them released has been very difficult. Hamas wants Israel to release Palestinian prisoners in exchange for the hostages. However, the two sides haven't been able to agree on a deal. Israel wants all hostages released without any conditions. Hamas, however, has connected their release to the larger conflict and its demands. The hostage situation has become a major roadblock to a ceasefire. Israel has said it will not stop until all its people are brought home. This strong stance has put a lot of pressure on Hamas. However, Hamas has so far refused to release the hostages without Israel giving them something in return. Not knowing what will happen to the hostages makes this conflict even more tragic. Their families are constantly worried, hoping for the best but fearing the worst. The hostages are going through something terrible, caught in the middle of a bitter fight. Finding a way to stop the fighting between Israel and Hamas has been a long and hard process. Even though people from other countries have tried to help, a lasting peace hasn't happened. Both sides are refusing to compromise. One of the biggest problems is trust. Years of fighting have created deep mistrust between the two sides. Each side is suspicious of the other, making it hard to find things they agree on. This lack of trust has made negotiations difficult, making it hard to move towards a solution. Another big problem is that both sides have demands that must be met before they will agree to a ceasefire. This makes it hard to find a place to even begin talking. Israel wants Hamas to give up its weapons and stop attacking. Hamas wants the blockade of Gaza to end and Palestinian prisoners to be released. The rest of the world has a very important role to play in helping find a solution. Mediators must keep working to bring the two sides together. They must encourage talking, build trust, and find creative solutions that address what both sides want. A ceasefire is extremely important to help the civilians caught in the middle. The ongoing conflict has created huge problems for Gaza, making existing problems worse and creating new ones for its people. One of the most worrying results of the war has been a big increase in violence within families. The long conflict, along with the terrible humanitarian crisis, has put enormous pressure on families in Gaza. Families in Gaza are dealing with unbelievable stress and trauma. The constant fear of violence, losing loved ones, and having to leave their homes has been incredibly difficult for them. This combination of stress, trauma, and hopelessness has led to a rise in domestic violence, with women and children suffering the most. Samar Ahmed, a mother of 3 living in a crowded UN shelter, is just one of many women in Gaza facing this terrible situation. Before the war, Samar and her children had a relatively stable life, but the conflict has changed everything. Their home was destroyed and they had to go to the overcrowded shelter. Her husband lost his job because of the war and has become abusive, taking his anger out on Samar and their children. Samar's story is a common one in Gaza. The breakdown of normal life, the lack of jobs, and the mental trauma of war have created a situation where domestic violence can easily happen. The few places that could help victims of abuse are overwhelmed, leaving many women and children trapped with nowhere to go.